Whenever you're fencing pastures like we are, there's always two sections that need to be joined together. Usually it's a new roll that you're adding in to continue on the fencing. Today we're going to show you a really easy and fast way to do that. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, The Purpose Driven Homestead. Now you can see behind me, we've got a lot of fencing that we've been working on. This is the second section. We've got one field that we already fenced early on. This is now an extension where we're trying to get our cattle a new section that they can actually graze in, especially as the weather gets hotter. We're gonna need a bigger space for them to be able to graze in because the grass won't grow as fast. Now, as we finish this section of fencing, one of the things we have to do is we're gonna have to patch, join, or otherwise connect two sections of fencing. There's about 4 rolls of fencing in here. Each one I think is around 400 feet long, 330, 400 feet, somewhere in that range. But we've got to get those two joined. It's our last section of fencing that we're gonna get done for this new area that we can put paddocks in. Now it's gonna contain 6 different paddocks, just like the first one. And that's gonna give us twice as much space now for our animals to graze. Now, whenever you're gonna be joining two sections of fence together, you're gonna have to have 2 ends that are cut a specific way. I'm gonna show you kind of how it might come to you from the factory. Typically, this is how rolls are done. I'm gonna show you exactly how you need to set it up today. And it's gonna be a fast video. This is actually a really, really easy thing to do. But I found that there are so few people that actually know how to do it. And there's not a lot of videos out there showing people how to do it if they've never done it before. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna turn the camera around. I'm gonna show you how we're doing this fence today. Now, typically from the factory, this is how it's gonna be set up. You're gonna see that these squares are kind of cut flush at the end, and that's essentially to try to protect you as much as possible. These are still pretty sharp at the end, but this is so there are fewer pokey parts out there. If you don't get it like this, you may get a roll that is actually like this. This is how it would look if you had cut the end. And this is actually what we want. So if it comes this way from the factory, that's going to be perfect for your needs, because this is what we're going to use to join the fence. And so it takes very little in the way of tools. If you've got strong hands, you can do this top section by hand. If you don't have really strong hands, you may have to use some pliers on this. But what we're going to do is have both ends cut just like this. And so this end is ready to go. This was part of what's already on the fence. So this has already been stretched. I've got it attached up here. It's ready to go. But this is our next section that I've got to then connect, and it is not cut yet. So we're gonna have to cut this section right here, and we're gonna cut it to match the other. And so what we'll do is we'll just come straight down here. We'll cut this little end off, and that'll be a very small amount of waste. That'll give us what we need to then take our next step on actually joining the two fences together. Now, I have found that bolt cutters are about the easiest way to do this. Now, I mentioned to you I was gonna just cut this end off. I've actually got a section down at the bottom of this that is, the wire has actually been all up and it's kind of mangled. So I'm gonna come in one more section. So I'm gonna take this one square off. These bolt cutters work really, really good for this type of thing. They just come through and it's like butter. Now, patching a fence is really, really simple. It's not difficult to do at all. The one thing you are gonna wanna have though is a decent set of gloves. These ends are super sharp. I've already scraped myself once today doing this. And so you've gotta make sure that when you have cut ends like this, you've got some gloves, because it will definitely pick on you. The other tool that will really come in handy is one of these potentially. I love this tool. I'll try to link it in the description below, but as opposed to carrying around a pair of pliers all the time, if you're going to do anything, especially with these smaller sets of wire right here, this is a really good tool to have because it fits right around here, and you can actually use it when you put it in, slide it in that hole. You can use this to turn and twist it and make all your joints. So I'll put a link for this in the description below. I'll show you how to use it. All right, guys, first things first is you've got to get this top section done. Now, what you want to do is you want to lace these in and you want to put where these two connections come together, so I'll call it the braiding portion. Where these two knots come together, you want to get those as close to possible as possible from each of the two fences. And so that means getting these things really close together. Now, this top section is super tough, especially if you don't have strong hands. This is going to be something that you'll have to do probably with a tool, a pair of pliers. I can only make a couple of wraps myself to do it, but you want to then roll this around. I don't know if you can see how I'm doing it or not, but it's rolling it around in a circle so that we're getting this pointed out, and we want to always make sure that we leave these pieces pointed out away from the cattle. So since I'm on the inside of the fence here, I want to make sure that my cattle are going to be pushing out, all of our animals are going to be pushing out of this fence. I want to make sure that these are always facing out away from them so they don't rip themselves open. And so now I make this one, I did that one on the overside. This one I'm going to come around on the underside just the same way. So I'm going to bend it out, give myself some leverage, and push it around. All right, so you can see how this looks right here. We've got both of these facing out away from the cattle. That is our first one. Now I'll probably be able to come back behind this and get a pair of pliers, maybe get another turn on this. Eventually you'll cut this down when you've got enough turns on it. But we'll go ahead to our next, and we're going to do it exactly the same way. So if I go under with this one, I'm going to then come over with this one. So now I've got one turn essentially on both of these, and I'm just going to keep turning this until I can't turn anymore. Now, this is where that tool I was talking about will come in so handy. If you've got strong hands, then maybe you don't need the tool. I do like that tool for when I'm joining it to T-posts, but for this, you might be able to just roll it around. But if you wanted to use this tool, the way you use it is you kind of come in here like this, you hook it in, you bring it all the way up, and then you turn it. And it is easy peasy. Then you just twist one time and you do the same thing, go back around again. Now that time you have to actually take it off, but you can make 2 good turns with this. It makes it really easy because you're getting all the leverage of the tool in here. So you can make several really tight spirals, and it makes it look good when you're doing your fence. All right, you can see now I've got a few of these done. Well, it took me maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I was able to come through here and do every single one of these at the top up to right here. The rest of these I still have to do at the bottom. I've just got my fence kind of laying off to the side here with a little bit of a buckle in it, but I want to make sure that I get it straight and I keep these knots as close to possible as I can. Now, once you finish doing your fence like this and you get it joined like this, this patch will be nearly as strong as the fence itself. So this is a very strong joint method, and it's the one that I've used over and over again in our fence. It makes for a very strong connection point here. So now that I've showed you how to do a few of these, I'll just throw this on time lapse and I'll show you exactly how we do the rest. You can see it's pretty fast once you start doing it. You get a little bit of a hang to it, especially like I said, if you've got strong enough hands that you can just bend these on your own, then that requires a lot less time because any tool is going to take longer than if you're just using your hands to do it. And these smaller ones, I think, for probably the average person, they're small enough in diameter and gauge that you don't need it. Now these bottom ones, these are big boys again, so they're a different gauge. So this top row and then the bottom row down here, those are similar larger gauge wire pieces. So the top section, this top row of wire and the bottom row, those are both much bigger pieces of wire. You may have to use a pair of pliers to do those. But the key thing is trying to keep this thing as straight as possible. Then you can kind of pull on a little bit as you get to the bottom, straighten this out some, and it'll look good. Now I just have to get this one at the bottom, and this fence will essentially be completed. Now hopefully you guys can see behind me we've got our beehives that are set up still out there. These things are doing awesome, guys. If you didn't see the video on that, I'll link it in the description below. Also, I'll put a card up above right now, but these things are doing awesome. Let me show you just really briefly how well they're doing. So you can see this is our strongest hive, and you can really see how the bees are just coming in and out of there. They are multiplying like crazy. They are doing a great job. Same is true over here as well. So you can see we've got bees all on the outside of this one. They are coming in and out with pollen and nectar, so really doing well. Here's our third hive. See, it actually seems like it's come around a little bit. I was a little worried about that one. That was a nuke that we set up after our video, but thought I'd give you guys just a quick update on these. And then finally, here is our last hive, our fourth hive. It also looks like it's doing really well. So really excited about this, guys. I think we've done well with the hive so far. Now we just got to keep them going. Had to put a hat on. It's getting pretty hot out here right now. Hopefully you'll agree, this looks really good and it's a really simple patch process. Like I mentioned, this will actually work not only just for joining two fences, but if you have a patch. If you have a section of your fence that got damaged or there's holes, or if you pull too hard on it, maybe while you were stretching or something like that. Anyway, this will work. All you have to do is cut that section out of your fence, get a slightly wider section than you cut out, and then patch it in at both ends the same way and stretch it out. One, stretch it in the first direction, get it patched in, get it good and tight, and then stretch it from the other direction, and you really will be in good shape then. So here you can see that this is a joint that I made previously. This is actually at the back side of the pasture. So I've stretched this fence, so you can see it's tight in that direction, and it's tight in that direction as well. And you can really barely tell that joint is even there. I think it looks really good. Is the fence exactly straight? No. When you're stretching it with something that it's not exactly designed to stretch stuff with, sometimes it gets a little bit off, but overall I think it looks really good, blends right in. So, but you can see that all of these are pointing back away from the cattle, which is exactly what you want. So you don't want these things pointing in, you want them pointing out away from the cattle. Our cattle will be on this side of the fence, and so that's what we want. So this is what I did previously, but I think you can see that it looks really good. I'm trying to work in a few shorter videos just to give you guys some insights of what's going on the homestead and to give you some things that are usable in more bite-sized formats, so you don't have to really consume an entire 15-minute video every single time. If you guys like that, please drop a comment below and let me know what you think in the comments, or if you want longer videos exclusively, let me know that as well. And with that, guys, we hope you have a blessed day, and we will see you next time on the Purpose Driven Homestead.